Okay, so there is some genetic predisposition here. For some of us, we have a genetic predisposition towards diabetes or metabolic syndrome, or specifically carrying weight around the abdomen, central obesity. I think it's important to call out that that can be a factor. And our genes are what load the gun. It's our lifestyle that pulls the trigger. Okay, so when it comes to leaky gut, it really is something that is caused by lifestyle, some of it out of our control, just based on the air we breathe, the water we drink, the things that we've been exposed to in our lifetime. But a lot of it really can shift based on our choices. So as we start healing that gut lining, we're actually reducing inflammation. And so reduction in inflammation is the focus. And remember, as we reduce inflammation, now we're allowing the adrenals to function at their maximal capacity. We're turning on the ovarian function to turn on hormone production. We're helping the liver function at its maximal capacity. It's all related. So it's not like we're only looking at the gut through a silo, but just keep in mind that everything that you're doing for reduction of stress, reduction of inflammation is relevant and important in the context of this conversation. So specifically overuse of antibiotics, they're just simply overprescribed. I think, a lot of providers that I talk to, they say, these are the words that I hear coming out of their mouth. The patient comes to me and they want my solution. If I don't give them a prescription, they're going to leave and they're going to go somewhere else, or the patient is unhappy. And so it is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, where there are plenty of scenarios where your provider really might not want to be prescribing the antibiotic, particularly if you're ill and it's viral in nature. Antibiotic's not going to touch it, but instead the antibiotic goes in and kills all the normal, natural, healthy microbiome. So I've heard statistics as high as 95% of the time that we're ill, it's actually viral in nature. Now, there are certain times where antibiotics go in and they are needed and they're laser sharp and they do a good job at what they need to do. But how often are we looking for a quick fix? We're working too hard. We can't risk the extra 24 to 48 hours. So we take one for the team and go, just give me the prescription just in case it's going to help. Not remembering that every time you take an antibiotic, you have now created 6 months of recovery of your gut microbiome. So yes, maybe it did speed things up to help you heal that extra 24 or 48 hours faster. To what end? And so to really be in that place of discernment, do I really need these antibiotics at this point? And to keep in mind, add up all the antibiotics you've been on over the last 5 years and go, wow, okay, 6 months for each round for my gut microbiome to recover. And some of them are layered on top of one another. Ibuprofen is another one. Ibuprofen wreaks havoc on the gut lining. If you've ever been on hormonal contraception, we're now learning that for some reason, exogenous hormones really wreak havoc on our gut lining. I'm curious around antidepressants, because most antidepressants are targeting directly the serotonin production. And we know that 90% of serotonin production is coming from the gut lining. So what is that doing to interject or disrupt the normal feedback loop of our body when that's where the production comes from? I'm just curious, and I don't have answers to that. I don't know. Think about yeast and sugar. Okay, for each of you that has sugar cravings, often those cravings are coming from a body's desire for different nutrients, but also it's coming from a likelihood of yeast overgrowth. And so it really has to be cut cold turkey. And the sugar is also wreaking havoc on that gut lining. So the things that, your antibiotics, your ibuprofen, your birth control, your sugar, pesticide-filled food. Okay, remember that most pesticides or herbicides, the way that they work is they're trying to keep the bugs off of the produce, right? The farmers want to grow these beautiful, productive crops. And by putting the herbicide or pesticide on it, it attacks the gut lining of these bugs. And then if there's any of that residue on the plant or in the plant, now we're consuming it. And so now we're literally attacking our own gut lining, not to mention the genetic modification that's happening. Many say that our body no longer even identifies some of these things as food. Caffeine is another one. So caffeine is highly acidic, and it's going to speed things up and reduce the absorption of the nutrients from what you're eating. I want to say out loud, it's really important that we're having regular bowel movements. So at a minimum, just look at your bowels. If you go back and look at the gut module, the Bristol stool chart, pull up the Bristol stool chart and actually look at what stage and look at the quality of your bowel movements. Are they kind of like soft banana in consistency? A nice brown color, not too dark, not too light, right? Not smoothie poop, not pellet poop, not cracked poop. And that also is going to say a lot about the quality of how your body is digesting. But keep in mind that when it goes from the stomach down into the intestines, that's where the majority of the absorption of nutrients is happening. That's kind of the area I'm talking about. As it progresses down closer to the anus, that's when it actually becomes stool. And there's one more round of the body reabsorbing water and reabsorbing nutrients, and it actually becomes stool. And so in some scenarios, the stool is coming down and close to the anus, and maybe sometimes we're too stressed, we're too busy, we're not listening to our body, and we're not paying attention to the fact that we need to poop. And so now the body's continuing to take the water, to reabsorb the water, and so the poop becomes more hard and constipated. And so just keep in mind that there's all different things going on in the quality of poop, but still Bristol stool chart is worth taking a peek at.